funny. The tendency in criticism is to reduce it to satire or irony. And this potentiality as such hasn't been realized so far as a result of this historicist approach, which is very often taken in literary criticism in general. So these labels become stuck to authors in criticism and are very difficult to budge, based always on the criteriology we lend ourselves when discerning what it is that we are writing about. So in one sense, the endeavour as well is to effect a change in how criticism remembers literature, not to reduce this literature to the social epoch of the author, so as to inform a new reading of memory, and then to take it in a hopefully different direction, which will open out the potentiality of memory that can be read in the texts. So that's generally the outline of my paper that I've submitted and my thesis project in general, and if anybody has similar interests or similar concerns, I'd be delighted to talk to you.
So I said before, and John repeat me, that probably there will be difficulties with the presentation, but not because text is not good. In my opinion, it's very, very good text was written, and I read this chapter from the dissertation. It's 35 page, which is written in completely philosophical and literary critique language on the very strange author who has 3 names. He tells us all, but do you remember them? Actually, I will call this author just Brian. And his text starts from the title of, I don't know, is it the title of your chapter or from dissertation, or just title for your presentation? All jokes aside, schizoliterature. I very like this title, because you put away, aside all jokes. It means, you know, that this title very ambiguous. It means that from the one side it's, you know, that okay, you invite stop joke, let's talk about irony. This is, you know, from the one side you stop this joke, from the another side you again invite, do it. And it's writing in the very ambiguous, very contradictory way. And I started to read you from the viewpoint which you propose, to read from Deleuze and Guattari, and about Swim to Birds, the novel, which is again very complicated, because, as you tell, it's so-called metafiction. It's the book was written in 1939. It's not very important this date, because the same book, the same content of the book could be applied and for contemporary. But in a way, if you will remember this time in classical way, that 1939 in Ireland was the period of the critique of the starting of critique of some nationalistic ideas, or boring nationalism. I would say boring nationalism, on my opinion, it's the stories about soil, blood, signed lands, you know, peasant literature, revelation of nation, just ordinary, all nations have the same kind of literature. And but Ireland had in this time and another experience from Joyce, actually, and there was a European experience with Samuel Beckett and the others. It means that you could write completely opposite texts. And even you could, Brian even could criticize his literature, and what is very important, and in this case, in this quote, he could criticize consciousness, but critique of people's consciousness is always political critique. This is important, and you could do this critique openly. This is the one point, but the majority of people couldn't accept open critique because they have intensive life only in private sphere. It means that many of people agree to be politically active only in their private areas, when they feel themselves safety. And so literature is the instrument for access to them. You could take people's privacy through selling, through giving them some literary texts, so you involve them into a political regime. That is again very important, and this your literature could support your nationalistic ideas or some one-dimensional consciousness, or just could destroy or critique. But what kind of critique you could propose for the people who don't like this one critique? And one of the possibilities to develop irony and jokes, or to develop satire through burlesque, parody, and caricature, like you mentioned. But I would say that what will be very nice for your paper, a little bit to consider from methodological point of view the concept of irony. I will take and recommend to start from Søren Kierkegaard book on irony, because this book was written a little bit in dialectical sense. Kierkegaard was the student of Schelling, but as well he was involved into a late period of young Hegelists, and so he was acknowledged with young or left Hegelian dialectics as well, and partly developed this dialectics, especially in the case of irony. And so irony was involved as one of the method of dialectics for critique of contemporary consciousness, even through literature. And Kierkegaard tried to use and to experiment this one approach, for example, in his novel Seductor. Then the another, what I think it's not obligatory, actually, your text is completely fulfilled, I would say. And my advice is like from outside, you know, that you could do another one project, and for these purposes I will use little bit text. I will criticize, first of all, the so-called direct mythologists and direct histories, or directive histories, directive mythologists. Directive or categoric mythologists, categoric history stories presuppose that somebody tells you what you should to do. And philosophy, from the beginning, from the Plato time, tried to develop something opposite to directive mythology. And this opposition was tropology, tropological considerations through using of different allegories, metaphors, and so on, in order to escape from directives of myth. That another method was actually open dialectics, that thinking through contradictions. That third one was actually rhetoric, art of rhetorics, which also helps to escape from directive mythology and dogmatism, religious dogmatism. The next was elaborated, it was exegetic. It's exegetic and later hermeneutic. It's very interesting that you could escape from directive obligations, you could escape not outside, but you could do it inside. It means that through development of some other significances, some hierarchies of significances, like in religious exegesis. Then what was interesting, all these experiences were developed, but you know that national revolutions in the 19th century, they reduced, concealed all these experiences as, you know, some nobleman experiences or nobleman culture, and started to think directly through ideologies and propaganda. But in a way, Kierkegaard and later thinkers start to find instruments how to escape from this dogmatic ideologies or directive texts, ideological texts, and they use then even other possibilities, not only dialectical and hermeneutical, but not only about irony, they as well as developed tropology, different tropological approaches, in order to make this one shift, to make this difference. In your text, when you explain and when you use Derrida, it looks like that everything is ready. You know that this one shift is very easy. To do this shift, it's very easy because something do, and I will repeat it him. It's not easy because every this difference or every this shift needs your personal irony, very personalized irony, and it means not only that you need to accept this schizophrenic position, that this shift presupposes that you always will change your intention. That it means that basic intention which we have, or basic values which we have, all of them are dogmatic. Lithuanian is a good state, that our enemy is this one and that. All these intentions are very strong, and in order to make some schizophrenic critique, you need to do some shift from this one hegemonic position to break this hegemonic position, and for these purposes you could use dialectical, hermeneutical, exegetic, or methods of irony, and which you presented, there. And okay, that another you mentioned a lot of, and today not only you and other researchers mentioned a lot of time concept silence. I thought, why not pause, music pause? You know that, for example, in Adornian sense, the pause, it's equally important, but it's not a little bit different from silence. That because silence is more or less a moral category, and the pause is aesthetical category, and pause is used for the building of or making of shift in post-dramatic way. Silence is dramatic concept, and dramatic concept presupposes that you are always into hegemonic thinking, that I do silence because I hate him, or I love him, and in silence I maintain this one. But pause is aesthetical category, and you could, and your texts are political, more or less, on my opinion, political aesthetical text than moral text, and I presuppose to use pause, like in Adornian aesthetics, you know, and to make, and instead of building of some system, to do some constellations or some assemblage, like Deleuze and Guattari wrote that what we are doing through our text, we do new assemblage, and this assemblage presupposes not a silence, not only a silence, but as well pause, musical, like music pause. And that's what does mean this schizophrenic, it's as well need to be explained. Schizophrenic, it's not only split, but also queering, you know, as some kind of othering. You make yourself other. And you take another position, and could be even cynical in your irony, and this, on my opinion, your author, Brian, in the text of The Swim to Birds, he is sometimes completely cynic, And this cynicism presupposes and pause, and music sound pause, and some othering that he always tried to do this one position of othering. I couldn't do and I couldn't criticize more you because your text is so sophisticated, you know, and the author which you choose as well as so interesting that I just could offer for you good luck in this one.
Okay, would you like to reply, or maybe some people? Yes.
Thank you very much, first of all. Maybe I misunderstood you, but if I did understand you, so I have a comment. You're entering the project from a perspective that says that actually memory studies really is not giving enough, I'm translating you, not giving enough attention to literature as a memory site. If I got you right, if I'm not correct, so stop me now and I will stop. But
Almost.
okay, so I'm not sure you are right in that perspective, because I don't know, from my perspective as coming from media studies, literature and popular books and so on are really considered as memory sites and are being studied as a memory sites with silences and forgetting and remembering and all as any other memory site. So maybe you could use for the theoretical opening of your project to read some of the stuff from media studies, and we are definitely considering books as a media product, and as every media product there is also memory issues related. So maybe it can help you to the theoretical background.
No, absolutely, it's I'm completely following Laila Asman thinking of memory, literature as stored memory. It's the conception of the creation of literature within memory studies that is problematic. Memory studies finds literature essentially as arising from our personal memories and basically diminishes the creative act and its role in literature. That's the problem of trying to outline.
I would like a little bit to participate in this your discussion. It's a very good question, but I'm not. It's a very interesting question, but I'm not very agree with your answer. It's again about the discussion that you know that Derrida wrote a book that could be translated "Ghost of Mars" or "Spectres of Mars," and he showed that how many ghosts are built through literature and philosophy as well. And when you are talking about memory and literature, literature build or create endless of surrealistic ghosts. Do these ghosts are members of your memory? This is the question, because they create something different than memory and something different than lie. It's not on the other side than memory and lie, I would say. And literature sometimes do it. And jokes and the literature do irony on the audience through, you know, they jokes against audience. It's laugh, you know, it's angry laugh against mass reader. That is some writers are very cynical, and they even inscenizate memory through putting a lot of marionettes and ghosts and specters into text, especially in magical realism, through magical realism, which is completely popular in, for example, Latin America, to destroy all memory which you have. Why you need to destroy all memory? Because history is hegemonic, and memory is hegemonic, and memory does us slaves, transforms us into slaves. And in order to escape from the slavery, writers try to destroy all hegemonic history and hegemonic narratives through through jokes, irony, magical realism, or metafictions. This is the point.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I absolutely agree with that. The conception of memory studies is that memory is the tool of the writer, whereas what we call great literary fiction would see memory is the enemy of the writer, and that which has to be destroyed.
Anything else?
Thank you very much for the criticism. I really appreciate it. I found it very constructive. So thanks to everybody else as well for listening.
So you can applaud for your work. And now it's lunch break, individually planned. And we are coming back for work at 2 o'clock. And we'll start with Victoria Rusineta from this university.